All right, we are back to the Building Your Life podcast. My name is Doug Sandler from Turnkey Productions, along with Mr. John Browning on the other side of the microphone. John, welcome back to the podcast.
Good to be back.
I'm good. I'm glad to be talking about this particular subject today. It is not one that we typically talk about, and we don't go too far in depth when we do. So maybe today we can spend a few moments talking about that four-letter word sometimes in the world of financial advising, and that is the word of annuities. Does not need to be a four-letter word. I can't even possibly spell annuities in four letters, so don't know where that comes from, but I've heard that be the case. So what do people need to know about annuities, John, that they are they misinformed, are they uninformed, or are they just not wisely given information about it? Tell me about annuities.
Yeah, yes, all three of those.
Yeah.
All three of those. So annuities have in the past been a great way to pay a lot of money for not a lot of return. And that's why they have sort of that bad name, that four-letter word. Oh, now never touch annuities. They're so expensive. Annuities now, most of them, all of the ones certainly that I work with, are actually right in line with just about any financial product, and actually cheaper
Okay.
than many options out there.
All right.
And
Well, then, what do people need to know about them then to dispel some of the myths that they are expensive and low producing products?
so you've got to understand that it should never be, I'm going to say never. I rarely do that.
Very
Again,
rare.
not investment advice here, but it should never be 100% of your portfolio, and probably not even, I personally think, and there'd be a lot of people that would disagree with me on this, it shouldn't even be 40 or 50% of your portfolio.
Okay.
Now, of course, that depends on your level of risk and everything else. But, and again, not investment advice, but annuities serve a very special spot in your portfolio. As you're nearing retirement, they can produce a guaranteed level of income
Mm-hmm.
every single month, just like your paycheck. Or you can set them up, they're flexible. You can set them up for once a year. So if you have a once a year expense, which many people do, rent for their lot or whatever it might be, and you want to get it once a year, you want to get that payment on such and such a day, you can set it up like that too. And the insurance company, you got to watch which insurance company you use, right? It's got to be a well-rated one. They're going to pay that every single day, even when your account, say it's not earning very much, right? And it runs out, so the face amount that you've put in there plus all the interest that you've earned is gone.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy an annuity that will continue to pay as long as you live. Okay. So there's a lot of peace that comes with that, knowing that that's going to come for the rest of your life, long as you live. So that's number one. The other way is, and this is, I think, really overlooked. And people say that annuities don't perform well, but I will tell you, in my experience, the folks that buy annuities when they're young, this would not be an income annuity like I just talked about, but it'd be more of a growth annuity. And they cap their upside maybe, but they're basically guaranteeing, the insurance company will guarantee a zero on the downside. And there's lots of different ways to put these together. But one of the things that an annuity does is it introduces discipline. When you purchase an annuity, if your financial advisor does it right and explains it right to you, you're not touching this. There's a penalty for withdrawal. And what I find is that those with annuities, they stick with the plan. And it's a behavioral finance issue that we all know about. We tend to buy high and sell low.
Right.
It's
Right.
just the thing. We don't stick with the plan. As like I struggle with this all the time with clients. It's very common. But with an annuity, it keeps you disciplined because of the way it's structured. And the other thing I will tell you, and there are studies that absolutely prove this. I mean, as much as a study can, my scientist son would say you can't prove anything with science. You can only, get a pretty good idea, I guess. But massive surveys, huge surveys have been done about people who own annuities versus people who don't. And what you find is that an overwhelming number of people who own annuities are much more at peace in their financial situation than those who don't own them at all, or that only own a very small number of them. And it's and frankly, they also show that over time, those with annuities have better performance. And it's
Interesting.
because of that behavioral finance discipline that the annuity introduces.
Well, I love that. I love the, I remember contributing to and continuing to contribute to a 401k when I was working for a company, and then an IRA when I became self-employed. And that has one direction in. It only has one direction, and it has been the same percentage of my income for my entire career. I never knew anything differently. And I would assume that people that are in the annuities category also, even more so, because maybe there's more significant or more substantial penalties if you take money out from that, or if you don't contribute to that. I don't know that to be the case, but I do know that when you get yourself in a disciplined spot of depositing X amount of dollars or X percentage of your income every month, man, that is a great, you don't even count that as your income anymore. It's just
Right.
gone.
Yeah. And you can do that on your own in your account, but it's just a lot harder. It's just it really is. I've just watch it, right? And my own self, right? I know I'm sending $600 a month to my Roth IRA, right? I know it's going in there. I'm not going to touch it, but all I have to do is call or go online and cancel that month. It's just way easier, right? It's a little bit harder to do with the 401k or with annuity or a life insurance policy. There's another one that people think it has a bad name, right? So here's a common myth for you. Uh, Term insurance is less expensive than whole life or index universal life.
Okay. I,
People
I
tell me
I'll
that
bite
all
on
the time.
that one. So that is not, that is a myth.
Again, it's bad math. You hear me talk about bad math all the time, right? So term insurance has its place, right?
Hmm.
And it is cheaper, right? Is my cash flow out is cheaper. There's no question.
Right.
Want to know the reason that it's cheaper? Is the life insurance company, they're very smart people. They know that that money is pretty much there. There is a low probability that they're going to have to pay out your full life insurance.
Okay.
And so vice versa, you can be somewhat sure that you're not going to see the benefit. You've just flushed that money down the insurance drain. Now, we do that all the time, right? With our car insurance, our home insurance, and everything else. And it's worth it to us.
Well, we're just transferring risk for a short period of time, whether it's 10 years, 20 years with term insurance, as opposed to a much longer, whole life or any other type of life insurance. I would assume, again, you're the expert.
That is it exactly. So what we'll do sometimes, and this is all about thinking about the person's individual situation, if they don't need tax-free income in retirement and they are able to fund their Roth, and that's all they can do. If they don't need more than that, then we'll use a permanent life insurance option for a portion of what they need, and then term life for the portion that they need before retirement. But the idea is to do the planning beforehand, right? Before it gets to the point where you're getting ready to retire, because you don't want to be paying a premium on your life insurance when you're in retirement. And arguably, if you've planned well, you don't need it because you don't need to replace the income that you were getting from your job if you've done your planning right. So we'll do part term and part permanent. And with like an indexed universal life policy, we call them, you can fund those for say 7 years or 10 years or 20, which whatever you'd like to do, depending on
Hmm.
your situation. And then you begin to borrow that money in retirement and it becomes tax-free income to you, just like a Roth would be.
Hmm.
And then when you pass away, the money still goes to your heirs tax-free, less what you've borrowed from it. That's the idea. And there's so many different ways to put these together. You really have to talk to a professional. Going online and typing it in and trying to figure it out for yourself, more power to you, but live your best life. Do what you want to do. Don't get into the weeds with that. Frankly, I use some insurance experts to help me with that. It's a whole world in and of itself,
Mm.
but there's a place and a portion for almost anything out there, depending on whether you want to mitigate your risk of dying too early or whether you want to mitigate your risk of paying too much in taxes that you don't have to. So, and again, the 100% Roth thing, we talked about that last episode. That's bad math too.
Yeah,
And
there's a
there's
lot of
reasons
bad
for that.
math that goes on in this world. I know that for sure, and I know that with annuities and insurance being as sometimes they are those products and services that people don't like to talk about, but they are a necessary conversation to possibly add to someone's portfolio, or to their investment style. What would you say? What percentage of your business would you say is annuities and insurance?
My business, it's really only about 5 to 10%. People, I talk about annuities a decent amount, so people think, "Oh, you're an insurance salesman." I'm really not. No, I'm a financial planner that includes insurance, as I think all financial planners should, in their conversations, including like long term. We did a whole podcast on long term care insurance and
Hmm.
how long term care can just destroy your retirement, things like that. Not, and again, it's not all about the investments and the investing. It's how you set these accounts up. Like, here's another quick example. I'm getting off on a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I have couples that have been in love for 40, 50 years, right? And they've been married for that long, and they're like, all we have is joint. That's kind of a bad idea, because if one of you has a long-term care event and you start running low on funds, because it's in a joint account and they own that, the government comes after that joint account. If you have it separated, it can be a much better idea. Or if you have an estate plan with a trust and all sorts of things like that. So many things to consider to make sure you're not sort of missing out on opportunities.
So, in order for you as our listener to take full advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you in terms of financial products, one of the things I like best about Guardian Rock Wealth and John is he uses this expression over and over again. He's product agnostic. So, why don't you share a little bit about that, and then tell people how to reach out to you in case they want to get more information. And then we'll wrap up today, John.
All right. Yeah. Being product agnostic is something that I find gives me peace, because I don't have a problem telling you to do something that if I was an insurance agent, I wouldn't like. Like, I can tell you, insurance is not the right call for you right now. Mutual funds, not the right call for you right now. Um, whatever it is, an estate plan, maybe you don't need one, but you still need a will or trust. I don't, I hesitate to use these words, but I don't care. I only care about what's right for you and what helps you build your best life. So I'm going to call it out like it is. I'm going to tell
Mhm.
you what you're paying for, how much you're paying for it, whether it's more or less expensive, and what value you get for that. So that's just what we do here, and I have the ability to do that because I'm independent.
The unvarnished truth, as told by only John Browning.
Not only me, there are a group of us out there that do a really really good job, and if you don't like me, if we don't gel, I actually have suggested you go see somebody else.
John, who is not going to like you? I mean, we've been working together for at least a year on this podcast, and I've heard your name many times before. I even think, as had to go back, I think I did get to see you on one of the financial channels. I can't remember if it was CNN or MSNBC or one of them out there. Where were you? You were somewhere. You were famous.
Oh, I've been all over the place. So yeah, I've been all those places. I have been at one point or another. So yeah, no, it's I mean, I usually get along with almost everybody, but every once in a while somebody's like, I don't like you. I'm like, okay.
The only reason
But
they
still
wouldn't
get the help you need.
like you is because you might have to leave a little bit early to go to like little league practice or something for one of your 6 kids. Now, come on, now who's not
That's
going to like a family guy like John Browning? All right, John, tell our listening audience how they can reach out to you to get more information.
Yeah, reach out to us. Again, we don't bite. We're not, we're not going to try and sell you stuff. It's guardianrockwealth.com. And there's a contact us section along with all kinds of free information out there. And if you text the word life, and this will be in the show notes too, so you can go get this information again. Text the word life to 321-421-5213. You'll get a link with all of my information, more than you ever wanted to know, a nice little video. And you can schedule time with me on a direct link to my calendar there.
And you may even get tickets to one of John's kids' games also.
Yeah,
So
right. They're all
you
grown now, pretty much. Yeah, I just have 17 is my youngest now. I'm getting old.
All right, well then you'll get John's last kid's tuition bill
Yes,
for
right.
his upcoming. Oh my gosh, God, I'm so glad I am done with that with 2 older kids, man. And you just have one that's still going to college, right?
Just one left to get through school or trade school or whatever she wants to do. Yeah.
All right, then we can meet and we can discuss how to have your best life, John, because that is soon to become your retirement edict is at that point, doesn't it?
I know,
When
when I stop paying for tuition, you know how much more I can save, right?
when was the last time you hadn't paid for tuition? It's been a long time, hasn't
Been
it?
a while.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. All right. Well, check the show notes if you're in our listening audience for your contact information to get a hold of John that way. John, thanks for sharing your message, your inspiration, and your services with our listening audience today.
All right. We'll see you next week.